The courtroom was silent, thick with an unbearable tension that could be felt even through the walls. The day that many had waited for, some with grief, others with fury, had finally arrived. Gao Taiyu, once a beloved actor admired for his charisma and talent, stood trembling before the judge, his expression a haunting mix of despair and resignation. Cameras flashed, journalists leaned forward, and everyone held their breath as the man accused of ending Yu Menglong's life prepared to speak. No one was prepared for what came next. When Gao Taiyu opened his mouth, his voice cracked like dry wood. "I didn't mean to kill him," he said at first, almost pleading. But then, as though some heavy veil lifted from his conscience, he began to unravel a confession that sent shockwaves through the room, one that turned a tragic case into a horrifying revelation about obsession, jealousy, and betrayal hidden beneath the glitz of fame. For months, the mystery surrounding Yu Menglong's death had dominated headlines across Asia. The young star, known for his gentle image and emotional performances, had fallen to his death under circumstances that made little sense. Early reports painted it as a tragic accident, perhaps exhaustion, depression, or even a hidden health issue. But whispers began to grow darker. When Gao Taiyu was brought in for questioning after inconsistencies in his alibi surfaced, fans were left stunned. The two actors had worked together, often seen laughing on set, sharing behind-the-scenes photos, and even calling each other brother. To imagine that one could take the other's life was unthinkable. But the evidence told a different story. Surveillance footage, conflicting statements, and a mysterious set of text messages painted a picture of deep emotional turmoil between the two. Yet even then, no one truly understood why Gao Taiyu would harm someone he once called his closest friend. That was, until the confession. As the judge read out the final sentencing, life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 30 years, Gao Taiyu's composure finally shattered. He broke down in tears, his sobs echoing across the courtroom. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he muttered words that made the entire courtroom freeze. "I did it because I loved him," he said, trembling. "But he betrayed me in a way I could never forgive." Gasps filled the room. Even the judge paused, his hand hovering mid-air as Gao continued to speak, eyes unfocused, as if reliving every tormenting moment. He confessed that his relationship with Yu Menglong had been far more complex than anyone had known. Behind their public smiles and friendly gestures lay a rivalry that had turned toxic, one that stemmed not only from professional jealousy but from something far more personal. According to Gao's confession, he had long been overshadowed by Yu Menglong's rising fame. Though both had started their acting careers around the same time, Yu's popularity soared, while Gao's seemed to plateau. "Everywhere we went, people only saw him," Gao admitted, his voice cracking. "I worked twice as hard, but he was always the one praised. He was the light, and I became the shadow standing beside him." But it wasn't fame alone that consumed him. Gao revealed that their friendship had once been close, so close that they shared everything, dreams, fears, even private struggles. They trusted each other like brothers, until that bond was broken by what Gao described as an unforgivable betrayal. He claimed you had promised to help him land a major role that could revive his dwindling career. Instead, that very role went to you himself, skyrocketing him to superstardom. "He looked me in the eye and said he'd talk to the producers," Gao sobbed. "The next thing I knew, he was announced as the lead. He didn't even apologize." From that moment, resentment began to twist into something darker. Gao admitted that he tried to forgive you, telling himself that it was just business, that maybe you didn't have a choice. But the bitterness only grew, especially as rumors began circulating that you had intentionally manipulated connections to secure the role for himself. In his confession, Gao said that his mental state deteriorated over months. He described sleepless nights, haunting visions, and an obsessive fixation on Yu's success. "Every time I saw his face on billboards or social media, it was like a knife twisting in my chest," he confessed. "I wanted it to stop. I wanted the pain to stop." Then came the night of the incident, the night that ended Yu Menglong's life. Gao recalled that they met privately in Yu's apartment to finally talk things out. At first, the conversation was calm. Yu reportedly tried to console him, saying, "You'll get your moment, Taiyu. Everyone has their time." But to Gao, those words sounded condescending. "He was smiling like it was nothing," Gao said, tears streaming down his face. "Like all the things he did to me were just a game." The argument escalated. Gao described shouting, shoving, and a blur of emotion that turned into violence. He pushed me first, Gao claimed, and I just lost control. But forensic evidence contradicted that statement, suggesting Gao had cornered Yu, leading to a physical struggle near the balcony. The next moments were chaos, ending with Yu Menglong falling to his death. When I saw him fall, Gao whispered. I screamed. I wanted to jump after him, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring down at the darkness. The courtroom was still. Even Yu Menglong's family, who had attended every hearing with stoic composure, were visibly shaken by the confession. For them, no words could ever bring back the son, the friend, or the idol they lost. And for Gao Taiyu, the confession seemed less like a plea for forgiveness and more like a final surrender to the demons that had destroyed him. Psychologists who observed the case later described Gao's mindset as a blend of narcissistic collapse and delusional fixation. His need for validation had turned pathological, and his perception of Yu Menglong shifted from admiration to envy to hate. It's the classic tragedy of obsession, one expert said. When admiration curdles into resentment, love becomes indistinguishable from destruction. But the horror didn't end there. Gao's confession revealed an even more disturbing detail. In the weeks leading up to the incident, he had been documenting his emotional turmoil in a private video diary, parts of which were later recovered by police. In one recording, dated just days before the killing, Gao can be heard muttering to himself, "He took everything from me. If I can't be remembered, neither can he." That line alone sent chills down the spines of investigators and fans who later heard excerpts leaked online. As the confession continued, Gao's emotions shifted between regret and delusion. He spoke of hearing Yu's voice at night, of seeing his face in mirrors, of feeling his presence haunting him long before the crime ever occurred. He was everywhere, Gao said, trembling. I couldn't escape him. Even when I closed my eyes, he was there, smiling, mocking me. By the end of the hearing, the courtroom felt drained, as though every soul inside had been pulled through Gao's nightmare. The judge, maintaining composure, delivered the sentence firmly, stating, "You have not only taken a life, but you have shattered countless others. Fame is fleeting, but guilt is eternal." Gao nodded silently, as though he had already accepted his fate long before this day arrived. After Gao Taiyu's shocking confession, the entire entertainment industry was left trembling. What had begun as a sensational courtroom drama had now spiraled into one of the darkest scandals in modern celebrity history. But as the days passed, new revelations began to surface, details that hinted this tragedy was not as simple as jealousy and rage. Beneath Gao's tearful confession lay an even more twisted web of deceit, manipulation, and hidden forces that may have pushed him toward madness. In the weeks following the sentencing, journalists and investigators continued digging into Gao's private life. What they found stunned even the most hardened reporters. Gao's home, when searched thoroughly, revealed a chilling shrine, walls covered in photos of Yu Menglong, torn scripts, and even printed screenshots of their old text messages. There were notes scrawled in red ink, with phrases like "He stole my destiny," and "Only one can shine." But the most disturbing discovery was a folder labeled "The Truth About Him." Inside were documents and recordings suggesting Gao believed he was involved in something far darker than fame rivalry, a betrayal that went beyond acting roles. According to one investigator, Gao had become convinced that Yu Menglong had deliberately sabotaged his personal relationships and career. In one of his voice memos, Gao accused Yu of leaking private conversations and spreading rumors to producers that led to Gao's contracts being cancelled. Whether these claims were delusions or contained fragments of truth remains uncertain, but they painted a disturbing picture of a man who had lost his grip on reality. He wasn't just jealous, the investigator said. He was obsessed with proving that you had wronged him, even if it meant rewriting reality itself. Rumors quickly spread online that Gao might not have acted entirely on his own free will. Some fans speculated that external pressures, possibly from powerful entertainment figures, had pushed him to the edge. Anonymous sources suggested that Gao had been under extreme financial and emotional stress due to hidden industry politics, and Yu's success had become an unbearable reminder of his own downfall. Was Gao merely a victim of an industry that pits talent against talent until one breaks? Or was this truly a crime born of his own twisted emotions? The line between madness and manipulation blurred further with every new revelation. Meanwhile, Yu Menglong's family decided to speak publicly for the first time since the sentencing. His mother, visibly heartbroken but composed, said during an interview, "No matter what excuses he gives, My son is gone. Gao was like family to us. I still can't understand how love could turn into something so monstrous. Her words resonated with millions of fans who flooded social media with tributes, artwork, and tearful messages, turning Yu Menglong's memory into a symbol of lost innocence and the tragic cost of fame. But one moment from Gao's confession still haunted everyone, the phrase, "He betrayed me in a way I could never forgive." What did that truly mean? Some insiders whispered that Gao and Yu's relationship might have been more intimate than either publicly admitted. They had spent years working closely, often showing affection that fans once brushed off as brotherly. Could their bond have gone deeper, and the betrayal been personal, not professional? No one dared to say it aloud in court, but the speculation grew like wildfire across the internet. Even from behind bars, Gao's presence continued to stir chaos. Prison staff reported that he often woke up screaming Yu's name at night, muttering incoherent apologies and begging for forgiveness. Some guards claimed he kept drawing pictures of Yu over and over again, his cell walls covered with haunting sketches. The more time passed, the more Gao seemed consumed by the ghost of the man he killed. Psychologists analyzing his behavior described it as a textbook case of obsessive guilt syndrome, a psychological condition where the perpetrator becomes fixated on their victim to the point of hallucination. He doesn't see himself as the killer, one expert said. In his mind, he's still the victim of Yu Menglong's betrayal, even while being haunted by his memory. It's a paradox only the deeply disturbed can live with. But perhaps the most shocking twist came when one of Gao's old friends came forward with new information. He revealed that just weeks before Yu Menglong's death, Gao had written a letter addressed to Yu but never sent it. That letter, found among his personal belongings, read like a final warning, a desperate plea laced with rage and heartbreak. In it, he wrote, "You took everything from me, my career, my peace, my reflection in the mirror. But what hurts most is that I still miss you. You were supposed to be my brother, my rival, my mirror. Now, I don't even know who I am without you." The letter sent chills down everyone's spine. It was the portrait of a man on the brink of collapse, torn between love and hate, success and self-destruction. The tragedy wasn't just the death of Yu Menglong, it was the implosion of two intertwined souls consumed by the cruel demands of fame. As the story continued to unfold, documentaries and exposés began surfacing, dissecting every detail of the case. Viewers couldn't get enough of the haunting tale. Two rising stars, bonded by friendship and rivalry, torn apart by jealousy and mental decay. Streaming platforms competed to release dramatized versions of the events, each promising to reveal the truth behind the tragedy. But as sensational as these adaptations were, none could capture the real heartbreak, the fact that behind all the glamour, these were two human beings destroyed by the darkness of their emotions. Even now, fans continue to visit Yu Menglong's memorial site, leaving flowers, letters, and messages that read, "You are loved, and we haven't forgotten." Every year on the anniversary of his death, the site becomes a sea of candles, and the air fills with his songs and quotes from his dramas. His legacy, though born from tragedy, continues to shine brighter than ever. Gao Taiyu, however, remains a ghost within the prison system, a name associated not with talent, but with tragedy. His life sentence is not only a punishment but a mirror of the torment he created for himself. Those who once admired him now only whisper his name with sorrow, wondering how someone so gifted could fall so far. And yet, the case has sparked deep discussions about the entertainment world and mental health. Many now question whether Gao's descent could have been prevented if someone had noticed his struggles earlier. Could a simple act of empathy or intervention have changed the outcome? Or was the tragedy inevitable, written in the stars of two men fated to destroy each other? The haunting echoes of this story will linger for generations, a chilling reminder that even the brightest lights can cast the darkest shadows. Fame can elevate, but it can also devour. And love, when twisted by envy and obsession, can become the deadliest weapon of all. Yu Menglong's fans continue to honor his memory through art, music, and tribute videos that celebrate his life rather than his death. They say that every time they rewatch his dramas, they feel his warmth and kindness through the screen, a spirit too pure for the cruelty he faced. As he was escorted out, reporters shouted questions. Why now? Why confess? Did he feel remorse? Gao stopped for a moment, turned his head toward the cameras, and said quietly, "I wish I hadn't loved him that much." Then he disappeared behind the cold iron doors, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Outside the courthouse, thousands gathered holding photos of Yu Menglong, candles flickering in the dim light. Fans wept, chanting his name, demanding justice even though the verdict had been served. For many, the confession didn't bring closure. It only deepened the pain, knowing that the person responsible was once a trusted friend. Social media exploded. Hashtags related to the case trended across multiple countries. Some fans defended Gao, calling him mentally ill and deserving of help rather than punishment. Others condemned him, saying his so-called love was nothing more than twisted selfishness. The entertainment industry itself fell into a storm of introspection. How could such darkness grow unnoticed behind smiling faces and glossy interviews? In the days following the confession, several unreleased clips and old interviews resurfaced online, showing subtle signs that, in hindsight, seemed like cries for help. Moments where Gao's eyes lingered too long on Yu, or instances where his comments hinted at jealousy masked as admiration. But as with many tragedies, the signs were only clear once it was too late. As the dust settled, one question lingered. Could this have been prevented? Those close to both men said there were warning signs: Gao's erratic behavior, emotional outbursts, and growing isolation, but no one imagined he was capable of violence. Yu Menglong, ever kind-hearted, often brushed it off, telling friends, he's just going through something. He'll come around. Those words, tragically, would be among his last. Now, behind prison walls, Gao Taiyu lives with the weight of his actions. Reports from within the facility describe him as quiet, withdrawn, and haunted. He reportedly refuses visitors and spends most of his days in silence, staring out the window. When asked by a prison psychologist if he regrets what he did, he replied simply, every second. But for Yu Menglong's fans and family, that regret means little. His life, his art, his laughter, his light, was extinguished too soon. And though justice has been served, the pain remains raw, echoing in the hearts of millions who still struggle to comprehend how love, jealousy, and fame could collide with such catastrophic force. As the sun sets on this tragic saga, one thing is certain: the story of Yu Menglong and Gao Taiyu will forever stand as a grim reminder of how fragile human emotions can be, and how even the brightest bonds can crumble under the weight of envy and obsession. The entertainment world will move on, but the shadow of that fateful night will linger for years to come, a cautionary tale written in sorrow, guilt, and the haunting words of a man who confessed, far too late, to loving his victim to death. If you've been following this heartbreaking saga and want to stay updated on every unfolding truth, deep dive, and emotional revelation in the world of Asian dramas and real-life star stories, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, K-Drama Whispers. There, we bring you the untold stories behind every headline, the passion, the pain, and the secrets hidden behind the scenes. Join our growing community of drama lovers, truth seekers, and loyal fans who refuse to let these stories fade into silence. Sparkles, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and be the first to uncover the next shocking truth behind the curtain of stardom. Because here at K-Drama Whispers, every whisper tells a story, and every story deserves to be heard.